Tomorrow's incident will occur. Which will show up first is always a mystery. On February 6, Turkey endured the greatest earthquake in history, and this calamity inflicted significant damages to Turkey. Turkey has started a post-disaster rehabilitation plan in an effort to quickly revive the economy. Turkey now has a budget of $45 billion, and it anticipates finishing the housing rebuilding within a year. International bids would be accepted for the restoration project, and nations including China, the United States, and South Korea swiftly entered the post-quake reconstruction competition. Given how strong China's infrastructure is, will Turkey choose it? What advantages do nations have in the race to complete the reconstruction project? Keep watching. Before we go on, subscribe to Cha News to watch about the most amazing world projects. Ready? Let's go on. Based on the statistics that have been released, we are aware that millions of people were left homeless as a result of the massive earthquake, which resulted in up to 47,000 fatalities in Turkey and the destruction of hundreds of thousands of structures. Before starting the rehabilitation phase, Turkey must clean up the ruins. Statistics show that the damages from the destroyed buildings in this earthquake, along with the remaining local economic losses, reached up to $25 billion. The earthquake cost Turkey an estimated $84.1 billion in economic damages. In the reconstruction phase following a calamity, as many as 130,000 homes need to be rebuilt in Turkey. Also, Turkey must finish rebuilding its infrastructure, including its roads, water supply, electricity supply, and sewage treatment. These facilities require a startling amount of 843 billion Turkish liras, which is comparable to nearly 45 billion US dollars. Recent years have been difficult for Turkey due to a number of factors, including high inflation and a weakening currency. Individuals have a lot of questions on this topic. How did Turkey go about raising money for the restoration efforts following the earthquake? The World Bank provided support to the tune of $1.78 billion to Turkey. In addition, a number of countries from all over the world have sent financial aid to Turkey for the purpose of earthquake relief and post-disaster reconstruction. Yet, the financial needs for the reconstruction of Turkey's infrastructure are not met by these donations. In addition to searching for additional finance and investments, the Turkish government is required to issue long-term debt as part of the post-earthquake reconstruction efforts. Despite the fact that it is a very challenging process, the reconstruction work that needs to be done in the wake of a disaster needs to be underway as soon as feasible. After all, millions of individuals are still in the process of awaiting the completion of their new homes. As Turkey began its endeavor to rebuild, the United States, South Korea, and a number of other nations reacted quickly to ensure that they could remain competitive with China. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of these nations? The United States has the greatest economy in the world, hence its economic strength is by default quite powerful. While Turkey has a sophisticated economy, it may also turn to the United States for assistance when its resources are low. In a humanist manner, the United States might lend money to Turkey, possibly even at no interest. Also, the United States has very good infrastructure. For instance, the Brooklyn Bridge, the most challenging undertaking in modern history, and the Golden Gate Bridge, the world's longest and tallest suspension bridge, were both constructed by the United States. More significantly, the development of roads, ports, airports, and trains in the United States began very early. Beginning quickly means gaining more experience than competitors, and the US has enough testing funding. As a result, the United States will always have special knowledge of certain infrastructure. Moreover, American infrastructure corresponds to American culture. For instance, the infrastructure of America has progressively taken on the traits of the motor culture that emerged from roads. Turkey will be able to experience unusual native architecture if the United States takes on the post-disaster rehabilitation project. Choosing to cooperate with the United States does come with certain consequences, though. Syria, on the other side of the earthquake, was also severely impacted, in addition to Turkey, where the majority of the structures were destroyed. Nonetheless, as a global power following the earthquake, the United States, in addition to failing to help Syria in any way, it made matters worse when a calamity struck the country. For instance, the ongoing imposition of unilateral sanctions and a blockade on Syria has led to a fall in the standard of living and inadequate preparedness for disasters. After the catastrophe, the United States not only refused to offer assistance to Syria, but also made it more difficult for Syria to conduct rescue operations. Although Turkey and the United States have a strong alliance, Turkey must also be wary of long-standing U.S. predictions and prevent the U.S. from acting similarly to Syria as the nation with the world's most powerful infrastructure. It should come as no surprise that China's physical infrastructure is of a high standard. For example, the massive nuclear coal-fired power plant that was developed with support from the Chinese government in Turkey has continued to operate without any problems despite a number of major earthquakes, and it has established itself as the backbone of the system. The building business in China is not only swift and of great quality, but it is also still very inexpensive despite its speed and reputation for excellence. The fact that China is a welcoming nation is of critical importance. After the earthquake that struck Syria and Turkey, China promptly sent an offer of assistance to Turkey. Also, during the past several years, China and Turkey have been working together on numerous projects, and their friendship has grown deeper. Even if China is chosen as the location for post-disaster reconstruction efforts, there would be many obstacles to overcome. So, what are some of China's shortcomings? Turkey is located in a seismically active zone, and the country frequently experiences earthquakes. Thus, Turkey's infrastructure has to have a very high resistance to earthquakes. Although China's infrastructure is extremely durable, the country's buildings are not particularly resistant to earthquakes. Even while the new nuclear coal-fired power station has survived many earthquakes, this does not necessarily mean that China's ability to withstand earthquakes has improved to the point where it is on par with the finest in the world. However, the building expenses in China for structures that have a significant earthquake resistance would be extremely expensive, which would make Turkey's already difficult option even more difficult to make given the country's poor economic situation. Despite the fact that South Korea's infrastructure is not on par with that of other developed countries, the country's spending on infrastructure on a per capita basis is among the highest in the world. It is essential to carefully plan investments in infrastructure on a per-person basis in countries that have limited land resources. We are all aware that Turkey has a very tiny area in comparison to the number of people living there. Planning must be done about both the location of the facility and the distribution of the workers in order to comply with the rules. South Korea possesses a formidable level of strength in this domain. There are still many obstacles to overcome after making the choice to do post-disaster rehabilitation in South Korea. Where exactly does this appear? Shipbuilding is without a doubt South Korea's most well-known industry, and we are all aware of this fact. Ships that originate in South Korea are in very high demand all around the world. The reliability of South Korea's infrastructure, on the other hand, is questionable due to the fact that a number of incidents have taken place within Korean buildings. In addition, people are left with a bad view of persons as a result of Korean architecture, which contrasts adversely with the architecture of Turkey. Even though we do not yet know who Turkey will ultimately pick, the cost of building in South Korea will be rather high. This is despite the fact that we do not yet know who will win. We have high hopes that Turkey will avoid making a rash choice and will get out of the course of the earthquake as fast as they can. Click on this video to watch about the most shocking China's project.